Hey guys, welcome to another Wednesday webinar with Mabili. And just as a recap, we do weekly webinars. Yeah, so every Wednesday at 12 South Africa time. And this series of webinars is specifically around data science and everything to do with data science and looking at real world examples and case studies and just anything of interest. And this is as an addition to the course that the students go through in terms of the Mabili data science program. So what we do on the Mabili program is we have an online repository of course material, syllabus for data science, and then we as mentors assist the students through their course. Currently, the data science course is divided up into an initial module which is focused just on Python and Python for data science, and then the next module is the data science itself. So the combination of those two courses is about a 6 month period. So once the students have completed the course, then we help them to create a profile on the Mabili recruitment platform. And ideally, by the end of the course, they will have a very strong portfolio of work and practical case studies that we can add to the recruitment profile to be viewed and to be presented to potential employers. So Mabili is an end-to-end solution, starting at the beginning with a lot of bursary students as well, and taking essentially from someone who knows very little about the subject from beginner actually to getting into a position where they can be placed as a junior. So we have different scenarios. So it's not always beginners. We also have people who come in who are currently employees from companies who need to be upskilled and trained. We have people who have been professionals in other industries. So, for example, an attorney who wants to make a switch into the tech and IT field. They might decide they'd like to get into data science. Or we've had a student also in finance who has accomplished a very accomplished career in finance and investments and making the switch into data science. So that's actually a very good example because they are perfectly positioned to leverage their experience and the years and all the knowledge that they've gained in finance and investing and apply that in the data science sense. So there is opportunity for everyone, and there's many different angles, but at its core, we essentially assess students coming in, put them at the correct level, and skill them in the way that they need to be skilled to optimize whatever their direction and goal is. So that's what these webinars are here for, is just to give a little bit of an extra something to the course and give a bit of a real taste of what happens in the real world and in industry and how we actually apply what's being learned. And we've got Lucky, who's joined us, and one of our regulars, top students. Lucky, how are you doing?
I'm doing good in yourself.
I'm very well. Very well. Good to see you. Thank you for joining.
Oh,
So what we're going to look at today is a little bit of a continuation from what we did in a previous webinar. And the previous webinar looked at scraping tweets using an automated Python program using the Playwright Python package. So I'll create a link at the end of this to that initial video. And the outcome of that was that we had an Excel sheet with a list of sample tweets in it. So I'm going to share my screen now and just give a visual to what I'm saying. Okay, so this was the outcome of it, and it's a very small sample data, small piece of data. I mean, there's 41 tweets here that we extracted. So this could be further modified. You can see that the dates the date and time and the tweet are all in the same cell, but it's okay. I mean, for this purpose, it's okay. So what we did to get these tweets was that this is from a search on Fall Guy, which is a Ryan Gosling movie, and we didn't really do any refined searches, literally just a general search of Fall Guy, and these are all the tweets that came out. So what we're going to do today is we are going to now do a sentiment analysis on these tweets. And a sentiment analysis means literally, is it a positive tone, a negative tone, or a neutral tone? And another good application for this would be if you think about getting feedback to a call center, or about a product, or about a promotion, or just getting general feedback from customers for a company which has a product or a business or a brand. And say you've got 10,000 reviews for that company, you can do a sentiment analysis to see what percentage was positive, neutral, and negative. Obviously, action needs to be taken if there's a large percentage that are negative and neutral and a small percentage of positive, but it can give you a quick overview and a high-level glance at how you're doing in terms of the way that your customers are perceiving you. So in this case, because we going on the back of a previous webinar, this isn't reviews, this isn't feedback, this is literally tweets, which are talking about Fall Guy, the Fall Guy movie. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to start with a Python program. So yeah, so initially the tweets came from X. And I think I actually did a hashtag, actually. It was hashtag Fall Guy. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so we just did a general hashtag Fall Guy, and that's where those are the tweets that were extracted. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are creating a Python program, and that Excel sheet that I just showed you now came from our previous application that I was showing you guys. So we extracted tweets into JSON objects and then converted those JSON objects into an Excel sheet. And that Excel sheet is what you see here. So literally we've got a list of 41 records that we're going to do a sentiment analysis on now. All right, so what we are going to do is we're going to make use of a few Python packages, and these Python packages will help us with different aspects. So these days, in any application that you write, you never have to do anything from scratch. There's always libraries available, and it's about getting to know your ecosystem and what is available out there and making use of them in your application. So the first one that we're looking at here is 4 that we need to install. This first one is called Pandas, and this is used very often in the data science field. And Pandas helps us work with data in terms of data frames. So if you think of a data frame, it really just is it's like a table of data that's stored in memory. So if you think what is a table? A table is a data structure of rows and columns, essentially. So Pandas helps us work with structured data. Then TextBlob, this is what the sentiment analysis, the library that's going to give us that functionality for the sentiment analysis. So we're going to run it through here, and then this will output for each string of text, giving us an analysis on it, whether it is a positive, a neutral, or a negative statement. Okay. And then we've got OpenPyXL, and this is for working with Excel documents, reading and writing Excel documents, very straightforward. And then lastly, for visualization, we're using matplotlib. So matplotlib visualization with Python. And because we are let me just add this one here. Because we are working with visualization, we need to use a Jupyter notebook. Because we're working with visualization, we need to use a Jupyter notebook because obviously we can't visualize as an output in the terminal. It has to be in a notebook to show the graphs. So that's the last one that we are installing as well. All right. So let's get to it. I'm going to go through the process of creating a Python application from scratch. So the very first thing that we do is I will generally go into my directory where I keep all my code and create a new folder. And I'll just sentiments webinar. Okay, I think that'll be fine. Okay, great. So we've created an application folder. I've called it PySentiment-webinar. And now I'm going to open it up in Visual Studio Code. So I was just referencing this other application, which is what we used before, but I can open up a brand new project in a brand new Visual Studio Code environment. So what I'm going to do is actually just create a new one. Okay, so let's open folder and then embedded code. And PySentiment webinar. It is a brand new int directory, so it's empty. So we're starting this Python application from scratch. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is open up the terminal and create a virtual environment. Whenever you are starting up or creating a new project, always create a virtual environment. And as you work in it, make sure you are working within that virtual environment in your Python application. So the way we do that, -m venv, which is the virtual environment application, and .my-env. Okay, so that's the command for creating a new virtual environment. And as you can see on the left, there appears the virtual environment, which is a directory essentially. And inside this directory are stored all the packages that are stored. All the packages that we create or install are stored in here. Sorry. Okay. Then the next thing we do is to activate the virtual environment. And the way we activate it, there's an activate program inside our virtual environment called activate. So we just need to do source and then the path to that activate file. So the path is my-env /bin and activate /activate. You can see on the left that it has been activated because it's got the name of the virtual environment on the left there. Okay, so then the next thing we need to do is to install all of our, okay. So the next thing we need to do is to install our packages. And just going back to my reference here. All right, so in order to install, we use pip install. And then if you remember the libraries that we looked at, pandas, TextBlob for the sentiment analysis, and OpenPyXL for reading and writing Excel files, and then matplotlib for visualization. And then after this, we also need to install Jupyter Notebook. My environment that I'm running on is a Linux, it's a WSL2 environment. And yeah, so I'm installing Jupyter Notebook now. Depending on your environments, some things might be slightly different. Your command line might look a bit different. Your command might be Python, not Python 3. I know that is in Windows. Your activate path for your virtual environment will be different in Windows. So just make sure that you are doing it relevant to the environment that you are using. So WSL2 gives you the ability to work with Linux operating system inside a Windows OS. Okay. Does take a second. Okay, cool. So that's Jupyter Notebook installed. So all our libraries are installed now. Now we can go ahead and, well, actually, there's one more thing that I need to add here, and that's the Excel sheet. So let me just copy that. All right, so I'm going into code, and I'm going into to retrieve that Excel file in data, copy that, and then sentiment webinar. Okay. Yes. Cool. Okay, so now we have everything we need, and I'm just going to refresh. There we go. There we've got our Excel file that we need to work with. Okay, so now the next thing that we need to do is just to activate or run our notebook. And the way we do that is just by typing in the command Jupyter Notebook. Oh, let's open the browser. Okay, and here it is running. Okay, so now we've opened up our directory in Jupyter Notebook, and as you can see, so it mirrors what's here. So essentially what you're seeing over here is the same as what you're seeing over here. So it's opened up the directory that we ran it in. We'd open up the notebook environment. So what you can see immediately is that we don't actually have a Jupyter notebook, and we need to create one in order to, so we've got somewhere to put the code in to run the code. The way we create a brand new Jupyter notebook is we go to new on the top right here, and we click on Python 3, and that will create a new notebook for us. Okay, so what we can do, the very first thing is just to change the title, something meaningful, sentiment analysis. And maybe what's good practice is just to put a bit of a description as to what we're doing. So these blocks can have different formats. So the beauty of a Jupyter notebook is that you can have the combination of code and normal text. So it's like having a Word document, but then code's a blocks of code that can run in amongst the content. So if we want to add just a title, some information at the top, this is currently set as a code block. So we can change it to Markdown, and Markdown just means Markdown is a format of text content, of formatted text. Okay. So for a main header, we use a single hash. Okay, so what I need to do is just to separate. And then shift enter to run. There we go. Okay. So what you saw there is and then if we want to edit again, just double click and then it goes into the editor screen. So Markdown is a way of creating formatted text. So anything, again, within a text editor, you can have different levels of headings. You can have paragraph text, bold, underlined, all different variations of formatting. And the way you do that is just by putting in the specific Markdown syntax. So the syntax in Markdown for a main header is a single hash. And then you can go to header 2, header 3 just by adding another hash. So, header 2, and then header 3, and then shift enter to run. And then you can see we've got 3 levels of headers. There is a lot of option for different formatting. So what I would suggest is just browsing to any resource. I'm sure there are lots out there. There we go. So we've got a Markdown literally on the Markdown website. So here are the different types of formatting, literally all the different headings. Okay, alternate syntax. So you've got different ways of doing the same thing. Then some best practice guidelines, some paragraphs. Okay, so paragraphs is literally pressing enter twice and leaving a line between text. Okay, but anyway, so that's something that you can look at, markdownguide.org/basic syntax. Okay, on with the show. All right, so let's just do some edits here. In real world case, you have a lot more information, but that's just yeah, for now, that's fine. Okay, so that's what we do. And the first step, we can actually do another description here, and let's change that to Markdown again. So the first step is that we are going to import the tweet from Excel file. Okay. Good. All right. Import tweets from Excel file. So that's initial code. We are going to import pandas. Just to check that pandas is actually installed. So we can see pandas is installed. And that's just something interesting, just to show you again how all the libraries that we install for the application are stored inside your virtual environment directory. Okay. But we did install everything in the previous step, so it's all good. Okay, and we have another student joining us. All right, good. Let's go back to our notebook. Okay, so import pandas as PD, and then we are going to load our Excel file. File path is equal to, and then we just need to get the path of that directory. So let me just copy that from inside my environment. So we can just press, so I just press F2, Control A, Control C, so I don't have to type that all out again. And then let's just put that in there with paste, and then that's our file path. All right. So we're accessing the Excel sheets in the roots of our project directory. Then the next step is to create a data frame. So data frame is equal to PD coming from pandas. So remembering pandas is what helps us to work with data frames. So PD dot read Excel, and we enter as arguments the file path. And so the file path is the path to this Excel file, and then we're going to specify the engine to use, and the engine is equal to open Excel. Okay, great. All right, and then just to check that we have in fact, oops. And then just to make sure that we have in fact imported the file correctly, then we can print out the first few rows of that file. And the way we do it is using the data frame function called head, df.head. Okay. All right, and then shift enter and holding thumbs. Great, there we go. So we can see immediately that we have in fact imported our Excel sheet correctly, and we can see the first 5 tweets, index starting at 0 and using that print function. Okay, on to the next. All right, now we're going to start looking at the sentiment analysis. So let's create a new markdown block here, and then we can just give a description of what we're doing next. Okay, so okay, great. All right. Using TextBlob library. All right. Okay, so generally you will have all of your import statements right at the top. That's just good housekeeping. But because we're going through this step by step, I'm just putting the import statements as we go through, which is fine. It works as well. Okay, so is from TextBlob imports. Okay, then we're going to create the function to classify sentiment. So as we know in Python, to create a function, we use def, keyword def, which is definition, and then the title of our function. So we're creating a function called get sentiment, and then we are putting in an argument called polarity. Now we're going to do a conditional statement. I'm just going to copy and paste this just for time's sake. So we're doing a conditional statement here, which is saying we're going to feed it the polarity, right? So the polarity, this is something specific to TextBlob. And the polarity is a result of the analysis of each tweet. So the analysis will come back as a number. And if the polarity is bigger than 0, it means that the sentiment result is positive. If it is less than 0, it is negative. Or if it's equal to 0, then it's neutral. Okay, so that's the definition to get the sentiments function. Okay, then we are going, the next lines will be to actually analyze the sentiments. And all right. So I can actually put comments in between. Let me just comment these, give us a bit more information. So you write descriptions in, you can have your separate markdown blocks to write descriptions for information to comment, but you can also comment inside Python, as I'm sure you know, using the hashtag, which is the syntax for comments inside a code block. So this is inside a Python code block. This is in Markdown. So that hashtag means something slightly different in a Markdown block compared to a code block. Okay. All right. So we're setting the polarity by running the tweet through the TextBlob sentiment analysis. So that's what this code is doing here. All right. And then, so the result of that will be a number, and then it will go to data frame polarity index and will value variable. And then from that, we will get the sentiment. So then the data frame sentiment is taken from the polarity. So the first step is we get the polarity, and then we use the polarity to get the sentiment. And you can see it's running the get sentiment function inside the statement here in order to output that. Okay, then we're going to print out the first 5 lines with sentiment analysis. Oh, we've got an indent issue here. Oh, okay. So indentation error in Python. Python is very specific. It's not like JavaScript and PHP where you can line up your code however you want. So you can see there's a slight difference in where this lines up. So these need to be pushed forward by 1 space each. And then that should work. Okay. All right, so we have another issue here. Okay, so this issue is kind of to do with data cleaning, is that it is trying to get a column called tweets with a lowercase t, but my Excel sheet, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let me see that. Let me close this. Okay, I'm just going to open up my Excel sheet just to make sure that that column is labeled correctly. Okay, so we have, this is the problem here that we see. Okay, so I'm going to enable editing, and the name of the column is different to what I'm trying to retrieve from my code. So in order to fix this error, all that I need to do is just to change the name of or the spelling of the column, and literally just to make that initial T a lowercase as opposed to uppercase. Okay, there we go. And then I can save it, and then it should run. Okay, let's do that again. Interesting. All right, let's refresh. Okay, so it doesn't help just to run it from over here because it's still loaded the old Excel document. So what we need to do is we need to run it from the first one to refresh what's being stored in our data frame here. So Shift Enter, then Shift Enter. Okay, so we're still getting that issue. Interesting. So is interesting. Okay, let's try. I think we need to just, it's because it's tweets still, so that needs to be
Aren't you
changed.
supposed to put a capital letter T on tweet on the tweet?
So I think what it is lucky it's, I still haven't spelt it. See, it still was with the plural, it was tweets. So I'll just remove that now. So now it should work. Now it should work.
Right.
All right, let's try again for the third time. But yeah, it's just to do with the spelling. So let's import that again. Oh man. What was your suggestion?
At first you open two Excel sheets, and then the other one was capital letter T on the web tweet. There was a capital letter T, and then the other one was just a small letter T.
Yeah, this is the one. So it's T.
Yeah, that was a small letter T, and then the other one was like capital letter T. I don't know if maybe you can just
Yeah,
change
it
the
was.
T. Yeah.
So this is the Excel sheet. Okay, let's check it. That's okay. So I've saved it and I've closed it. Okay, so it is still showing tweets. That is a problem there. All right, so let's. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's changed it there. So that is matching this now. So this now should work. Amen. Sure. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's do a print head. Oh, df.head. Sorry. All right. Okay, so what it's done is we've added two more columns for each tweet. So each tweet now has a polarity column and a sentiment column. So that's what we've done in this step. All right, excellent. We're back on track. It's working. Good. That's a relief. Okay, so what we want to do next is we want to now plot this on a chart. You want to visualize this. Okay, so I'm going to do a markdown block here. Yeah, that is markdown. All right. So we're going to visualize the results. Okay, let's actually change this. Using the match plots library. There we go. Okay. So now in order to do that, we want to import matplotlib as PLT. And then I'm just going to copy paste this code. All right. So what we're plotting now is the sentiment distribution. We want to see visually the number of positive, neutral, and negative sentiments on the tweets, and then shift enter to run that. And there we go. We've got our charts. All right. So on the left-hand side on the axis, we've got the number of tweets. So just over 17.5 tweets, and this is out of a total sample of 41. So it should all add up to 41, these three numbers of tweets. So we've got the most tweets were positive, which is good. Then we've got a lot of neutral tweets, and then we've got some negative tweets here. So yeah, that is sentiment analysis visualized on a list of tweets. So actually what we could do is we could use ChatGPT to generate us an Excel sheet of sample reviews on a product. Okay, so just to show a slightly different variation on this application, because we've got a bit of time, I see. So give me a sample data set of product reviews. Okay, so I'm using a sample data set because I don't have anything specifically accessible. I could go and download something I could Google it and download it something from the internet, but using ChatGPT, it's a very quick solution, and we don't need to get a data set of thousands of records. We just want a sample data set of pretend reviews for a pretend product. Okay, so a sample data set of product reviews for a shoe, for a sports shoe. And we want it in a specific format. Let's say 200 records. And that is an XLSX. That's the correct format. Okay. All right, so I'm going to use the same application, but just a different data set. Okay, we can see it is working. It's giving us that list. I've just asked it for a lot. So, and that's the cool thing of one of the cool things about ChatGPT is you can view the analysis. You can see what it's actually doing while it's doing it. Okay, great. So let's download this file. I'm going to download it to our same project and code internet webinar, spreadsheet reviews. So, all right, now we are just going to change the file. And just make sure that it is in fact here. And I just want to see just confirm that it is all formatted correctly. Okay, so we've got review and we've got the list of reviews. Fantastic. Okay, good. This is actually a very good example. All right. Okay, so let's run this first one. Excellent. So we can see that it's pulling our correct sheet. So we've got review, which is a column header, and we've got the first 5 reviews here. Great. So we can do exactly the same thing. From here is just run each one separately, shift enter. Okay. It's trying to get tweets. So we just need to change this to review. All right. Okay, great. So we've run it, we've imported it, and we've added the two new columns. So the first column being the polarity, which is the result from TextBlob, and then that polarity is translated into a sentiment. Okay. All right, then the last thing to do is just to run the visualization. Great. So now you can see the number of tweets is a lot larger because I've gotten a bigger data set, but there you go. Here's the analysis of the sports shoe brand. Okay, that is a wrap. Any questions, Lucky, or comments?
I don't have any question, but how you did your sentiment is kind of different from how I did mine. I also made a project about the sentiment analysis.
Okay, what tools did you use?
Okay, let me check. Yeah. How I did mine. I actually, how can I put it? I actually, on the Excel sheet, there was no columns, so I actually renamed the data set and then gave it the columns. So mine had the ID information and type and the text. And then how I actually continued doing it was like I plotted the features, and then how I plotted the features, I was creating the word cloud of which is just like generating a certain image, showing like a couple of words that were on the text. So yeah, continuing forward, and then yeah, I I labeled I on the I plotted the no I made a comparison per branch, and then on the X label, and then I put the brand and the number of tweets on the Y label, and then yeah, just like continued visualizing it. Yeah, and
Okay.
then yeah, and then afterwards, and then I created the model, the machine learning model using logistic regression and continuing forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so you were using more of a machine learning approach.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily like focused on analyzing. I was just like continuing forward with building the model.
All right, that's cool. That's also a good way of doing it. And yeah, so yeah, excellent, excellent. And then, so did you visualize it? You said you did visualize it.
Yeah, I did visualize it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's good. It's good to know all the different ways, and the machine learning obviously is a more advanced way even in this. So
Yeah.
something to definitely cover in the future. And what I might also do is taking this and doing further more in-depth analysis using ChatGPT API. Maybe I'll do that for next week's webinar. Okay. All right. Thanks again, Lucky, for joining me here. Always good to see you, bro. And yeah, see you guys next week. Every Wednesday at 12 South African time, we do a new project or case study on data science.
Thank you.
All right.